for men who refuse to stay complacent. Welcome to the Upgraded Man podcast with your host, Chris Anderson.
Welcome back to another recording of the Upgraded Man podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. Today we're going to have a conversation that by the end of it, you're going to be able to walk away with some honest questions that you're going to figure out if you're actually present in your marriage or you're just kind of on the sideline. So we brought in an expert to help us with this conversation, and I'm excited for it. We're going to hopefully improve at least 1% better today in our marriages, guys, in our relationships with this. So tune in, be ready to share this with someone who you know needs it, because we all do. But I got Thomas Edwards Jr. on the show today. Thomas, welcome to the Upgraded Man podcast.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, Thomas, you're all about relationships and marriage. Why? Why did you pick this route for those who don't know?
Well, I mean, a big part of it is because as a married man with a young daughter, my life became that in so many ways. And, you know, the clients that I serve, a lot of them, I would say if not 98% of the clients that I serve have businesses, and they created those businesses for the purpose of being able to provide for their family, but also create the freedom to allow them to be present for them. And somewhere along the way, they got lost in the sauce of growing the business, and now the thing that they built for their family is now taking them away from them. And you know, the whole split identity and trying to create work-life balance, which I'm sure we can talk about. I have a lot to say about that.
Oh yeah.
It just makes it really messy for the average businessman, you know. And so I want them to feel like they can do all the things that they want to do and still be present for their family, because that's their living legacy.
Yep.
And I want them to feel like they can be there for all those moments that matter for them.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. Yeah, that work-life balance thing, that'll be good to dive into, because I'm sure we're kind of on the same camp of that. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. But why?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, this is always something we were working on, right? Relationships are not perfect. You got two imperfect people coming together trying to live and build something. What led you into, like, I mean, are you like Hitch? Are you the date doctor type thing? Or what's your expertise that got you being able to speak towards, building better relationships and marriages?
Yeah, I started off, this was back in 2009, I was a young gun and wanted to really just offer something that maybe could be useful to the fellow man. And I personally went through my own personal development journey around confidence, relationships, communication, all the normal things I think the average 18 to 23-year-old would go through, and it reached a point where I decided, you know what, maybe there's an opportunity here where I can maybe shed some light, some wisdom for for people who maybe didn't know what to do, or they don't know what to do. And that became the Professional Wingman. And I would go out with my clients and I would in real time give them feedback on what was preventing them from making those quality romantic connections. And so a lot of people would call me the real life Hitch. The media loved calling me the real life Hitch because that was essentially what I did. Yeah. I offer that it was better because I was actually with them in these social environments, right? Like I wasn't the guy in the earpiece or anything like that. Yeah. And, over several years, I totally crushed it, was considered one of the best in the world, responsible for over 400 marriages, engagements under my belt, was being flown around the country, working with clients in their city, showing them how it's done. I was even brought on TV, put to the test. The Wall Street Journal followed me along. I was on the Steve Harvey show. ABC Nightline followed me, and all of them had great reviews. Even Andrew Schultz gave me a shout out. I had all the recognition, and I also found the love of my life. I got married. That was featured in People magazine, and it went viral on the New York Times. I mean, all the check marks and all the aesthetics were spot on. It was there, and at some point I personally lost my way. I didn't really know what to do with all the success, the influence, the money, And as my life got bigger internally, I was freaking out more and more because I didn't know what to do with all of this. And so naturally I imploded, while trying to do my best to maintain external appearances,
Sure.
but things started to fall apart. I mean, I got heavy into drugs and alcohol, started to destroy my body, to start to destroy my business, almost destroyed my marriage. And that went on for quite a few years. And then by the grace of God, one night just changed it all. And I just had like a white light moment, cried out for help, and woke up, and whatever obsession there was to escape and to drink and use were completely gone.
Wow.
And for most people, that's probably like the best thing, right? But for me at that point, it was not. Like I was really, really scared because that's all I knew. I didn't know how to live life where that wasn't accessible to me. And so as a result, I stepped away from Wingman because going into those environments was no longer healthy for me. But I still wanted to help people, and I had this skill set that I developed over a decade of helping people understand themselves and how to understand relationships. And that was when I went on my own personal journey of really rediscovering myself and building a better relationship with me. And that's where video games came into play, where I tried to compete and become a semi-professional gamer.
Nice.
Which I totally failed at, but I had my moments. I won an online tournament. I competed in a local tournament, sponsored by Red Bull, came in 33rd out of 120 people. And it was never really about the achieving the goal. It was more about the journey of becoming.
Yep.
And how much fun I had in that journey. Yeah. And I just said to myself offhandedly, I was like, man, I wish my whole life was a game. I wish it was like this, where I could just train and have fun and compete and have fun. And no one knew I was Wingman. They just saw me as Thomas, and I was just like this normal guy having fun. And then it just clicked. And I thought to myself, wow, if I just brought together my frameworks around relationships and then gamifying your life, there could be something special there. And then COVID happened. And a lot of people who were my former clients became entrepreneurs and now had the reality that their work and their life are no longer different things. And so using this framework, it really helped them elevate not only in their business, but elevate their presence at home not just as a husband, but also as a father. And that's when it really clicked for them that they too can get what I have here on my desk, their own green mushroom,
nice,
which is representative of an extra life, and
yeah.
I felt like God gave me an extra life by allowing me to be sober. The least I could do is pay it back by showing people how they can get their own.
I love that. I think that's really cool because you're big about play, like bringing play in marriage and making it. So let's dive into that because, like we mentioned earlier, like two imperfect people coming together, trying to live, and you learn about each other. You learn more about yourself in a marriage and where you fall short, where you struggle, but where you're also strong. So how do we incorporate that into this play? What do you mean by bringing more play into a relationship? Like,
so
let's go play video games play, or
hey, listen, if your girl loves video games, that's something that you should do, right? Like, of course, right? Okay. But even before we even get into that, like, I want to offer that there's a foundation that I think every person needs in order to understand what true fulfillment not just looks like, but feels like. Right. And so inside my book, The One-Up Effect, I talk about these 4 worlds that we should be playing in, but we often don't. Right. And first world is the world of purpose, which governs your physical, mental, and spiritual fitness. We can talk about that if you want. The second world is play. And to answer your question, it's about the people, the places, and the experiences. Sometimes there's things, right? But mostly experiences that bring you joy. This is where actually more expression of your life comes through this area, and it's often the most neglected.
Yeah.
The third world is the world of passion, which is all about connection and love of yourself, of your partner, of your family, and then of your community. This is where contribution goes from internal love to outward expression and care. And then the last area, which is where most people, I would say most men, focus all their attention on, is in the world of performance, which is about increasing sharing and then asking for value, typically value in the form of money. But it could be other things as well. Could be energy, could be attention, could be support, whatever it might be. Could be a hug, whatever. So typically what I found is for most men, when they're disconnected in their marriage, oftentimes it's because they're disconnected with themselves.
Yeah.
Right. They haven't hit the first level of the game, which is self-love. And oftentimes people will, my clients will ask me, well, how do I actually express love for myself?
Right.
Which I think is a pretty reasonable question, right? Like, who taught you how to express love? Probably to other people, but to yourself, you probably weren't taught that.
Right.
Right. So it makes sense, And so one of the first things I always tell people to do is like the way you would treat someone that you admire. And there's probably a time, if not now, that it was your spouse, right? Like, what were some of the things that you did for your spouse when you were courting them that showed or portrayed you being a viable partner for them, right? Like, this is very similar to how we should be treating ourselves. Like, we should be courting ourselves, right? Saying sweet nothings to ourselves to build our confidence and our sense of self-worth, taking ourselves out on dates or treating ourselves to experiences because we love ourselves, right? Like, we don't necessarily do those things for ourselves, yet we expect other people to do it for us, notably our wives. And they maybe sometimes they may not, right? But if you ever felt like it was never enough, now you understand why. And it's typically because you haven't given it to yourself and you're expecting it all to come from your partner, maybe your kids, your friends, your community. And I can promise you, like, it'll never be enough. I've been there. I've seen my clients go through that, So
what do you think that is?
That's just a long-winded way to get to the to the beginning of your answer there, right?
Why do you think so many guys struggle with loving themselves at all, or showing any positive stuff towards themselves?
Well, we haven't had any. I would say straight up that chances are they grew up in a home where they didn't have the ability to develop what I call emotional literacy. Right. Now, most people will talk about emotional intelligence, and that's so important, but that's like level 2. Right. Or actually I'll say level 3.
Okay.
Right. Level 1 is emotional awareness, right? The awareness that you have emotions. Mm-hmm. Level 2 is now emotional literacy. Emotional literacy is being able to identify your feelings, your emotions, putting words to your feelings. A lot of guys can't do that, right? Yeah. And most emotion that comes out because they don't like know how to put words to it often comes out as anger.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because that's just what we've seen. This is typically what we're taught by total exposure, right? But what I found out in this through journaling and through therapy and in coaching, that there's a lot of guys who actually they're not angry. They're angry, they're frustrated sometimes, but they're not really angry. What's deeper beneath that is like a sadness, right? But when have we been taught as kids, as men, as teenagers, even as adults, like what the experience of sadness really is, right? And that it's okay to be sad without being diagnosed as depressed, right? Like we can be sad and it not be this tragic thing, right? And so that's the second level. And once you're able to understand and put words to your emotions, now you can experience and develop more emotional intelligence, which is basically how to process the words of your emotions and the emotions behind them, and be able to actually come to process and then come to a resolution that can support you in not only moving forward, but having, once again, the awareness of if that situation were to happen again, you're now better equipped to manage it.
Yeah, that's a good thought. And it's like it's just a constant, like, almost incorrect learning generation after generation after generation. Because I was trying to, like, something popped in my head when you're saying that for some reason. It's literally, I don't know where this came from, but King David popped in my head from the Bible.
Yeah.
You're talking about how, like, guys just usually anger is the only emotion, and like we're taught not to have fun, and like all of a sudden when you're talking about this, King David popped in my head. I said, because he's in the Bible, like I like his story a lot. I trying to learn more about him. He killed a lot of people. Like, he was a warrior. He fought, and he was like masculine. You would think, he killed Goliath. He, did all
Yeah.
this stuff. But he played the harp, I think it was, and would dance around,
Mm-hmm.
and like he would write these psalms and laments,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like, so he had that peace. Not only was he a
He
warrior,
was deeply emotional. I mean, his cries to God when he needed support, right? And his praise. I mean, he would dance in the streets, right?
he had that emotional literacy and I would say intelligence. And so, like, because my mind goes like, we're just taught like be strong, keep it all in, all this stuff. But I'm thinking, I'm like, no, like look that far back and how they wrote the poetry. They spoke kindly. They were gentle, but they're also warriors. Like, that's what popped in my head right then. And
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, King David obviously has his downfalls. He has his mistakes. He has his
Of course.
imperfections, just like we all do. But just that, I don't know. It just popped in my head. I'm like, that's so. We've just we've just followed the wrong view of what a man should be for a long time.
And this is
having that emotion.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I talk about when I ask the question, like, are you playing your game of life, or are you playing someone else's game, right? And listen, there's no like there's no like good or bad answer to that, right? Like, you just have to reflect and say, hey, like, am I still running programs that were taught to me or indoctrinated in me that don't actually work with my life today or where I want my life to go, right? Like, if the answer is like, yes, I've been operating from the past, and I'm just repeating the same thing from the past, even though you want a different future, then chances are you are playing someone else's game. But you have to just also have some grace and understand that the game that was given to you was probably like you said, Chris, like the game that was given to them and the game that was given to them, right?
Yeah.
And so we need to take responsibility as men to make that decision, right? To make the decision to say, hey, like, I'm done playing this type of game, because this is not the game that's going to allow me to truly win the way that I want to win. It might be the game that maybe my parents want me to win.
Right.
But they're not living my life. They're not living my life. They've already played their game. Yeah. I get to play a different game of life, and I'm going to step into that.
Yeah, and I think that's crucial. Excuse me. Because I think a lot of guys, like, they choose things based on other people's responses. Like, maybe, where they live. They're living there because it makes other people happy instead of themselves. Or maybe it's, they do a certain job because they know someone would approve, but they don't really like the job. They'd rather do something else. Like, we see the movies all the time. Follow the family business. I don't really want to do this. I want to do, decorate Christmas trees, like, but they're happy. So, like, I think that's figuring that out. So in marriage, like, how do we, once we are aware of this, like, hey, I've got to figure this out. How do we work alongside our partner, our spouse, to help them understand and be aware of what we're going through? Because it's probably hard for most guys to be like, have that communication and the talk about the emotions and stuff. How can we start opening those doors and still not lose, who we are as men still?
Yeah, and I think it's also really important to understand, because I've been through this too, and I've witnessed other clients go through this too, right? Like, what you don't want is to be like, and this is going to be controversial, I'm going to say, but I'm okay with this because I know it works. It's like, you want to be mindful not to be 1,000% like sharing everything in terms of emotionally with your partner, right? Because there's certain things that, like, you will share with her that she will never understand. And if you share those things with her, it's going to start to alter her perception of you from a lens in which she does not understand. And the same thing actually is true of your partner, right? Like, your partner goes through things in life. I mean, she's a woman, right? So she goes through things in life that you will never understand or experience. And she should have her girlfriends to go to and talk to about those things, right? Like, and what I mean by that is like the depths of that, not like at all, right? Like, if she wants to mention that she's on her period, right? Like, that's important for you to know. And that's information that you should have, right? You don't understand what that means typically, right? But it gives you a heads up of like, something is happening with her, and you need to know that.
Yeah.
You can do the same thing with her and let her know, hey, like, I'm going through something right now. I need some time to process. When I'm done processing, I'll share with you, more of what's been going on. But if you notice I'm being weird or I'm being aloof or I'm being a little off-putting, I just want you to know that that's where it's coming from. It doesn't have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
Right. And even just sharing something like that, right? Like you haven't really shared the details of what's really going on and the emotions behind them, but even just sharing that takes a good amount of courage.
Yes.
And I call it authenticity more so than vulnerability.
Yeah.
To for her to actually see you in that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it can start literally from that baseline of just communicating, hey, like this is where I'm at. I'm still trying to process things. And when I am done processing, like I would love it if I'm able to share it with you. And now, of course, like your wife needs to be able to hold space and have the capacity to actually hear you and not judge you and not criticize you and actually just really hold and see you as who you are. And that's going to be a skill that if she doesn't have, is that she's going to have to develop as well.
Yeah.
So you two are essentially working as a team to better improve the layers of communication and connection through emotional awareness, emotional literacy, and then eventually emotional intelligence.
Yeah. And it's so important to work through this. And some people, guys, might be listening and they might be struggling with this conversation because of like, oh, that seems, you know, woo-woo, or that seems soft, or, you know, and it's true. You know, I was probably in that camp many, many years ago, but like, it's true. Like we got to understand our emotions and where we come from, because we can't show up in the best in our relationship. And it's not about being, it's not about crying 24/7 over things. I think there's a place for tears, but in the right setting, and you know, but like, I think that's where people kind of have trouble, or guys do, to like even start to have the conversation. Because I feel like, and if I'm wrong, maybe with your research and what you do, guys don't want to feel weak by having these conversations, to showing, because it shows, hey, there's something that we can't handle, kind of thing. We have to bring it out, kind of.
And that right there, right, is part of programming, right? Like who defined that as weak?
Yeah.
Who defined having emotions as weak?
Right.
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 Like having emotions isn't weak.
Yep.
Allowing your behaviors to be dictated by your emotions, that is weak. Right? Like there's a huge distinction between the two.
Right.
Right. And this is what's really important, right? Like men are judged by their actions, not by their emotions.
Right.
Women are judged by their emotions and their actions. Right? So and while that, you know, well, if any women are listening to this, they might think to themselves like, this is totally unfair. You're totally right. It is unfair. However, for the men who are listening here, this gives you an opportunity and an advantage, because you're not judged by your emotions. The expectation is for you to not have emotions, right? But what I want you to understand from this conversation is that when you are able to process your emotions from something that could be detrimental to you and alchemize them into something that can be constructive, dare I say even positively influential for you and those around you, at the end of the day, they're only going to see your actions. And if those actions are positive and they're constructive, that's what ultimately matters. But you'll never be able to access that level that you can ultimately hit if you don't allow yourself to process those emotions. It doesn't mean like all those, and I'm not even talking about like just the quote unquote negative emotions, right? I'm not just talking about anger, sadness, frustration, you know, whatever it might be. I'm also talking about like gratitude and excitement and happiness and contentment, right? Like, know why you feel this way. Why do you feel excited? You know, most of the things that we emotionally respond to have nothing to do with the event that we're actually experiencing. Typically, it's about an event that happened way in the past that we have not spent time resolving or reconciling. And if we took time to actually do that, whether it's through journaling, through therapy, or other tools, man, like your emotional capacity to be able to handle life at a higher level will dramatically increase.
Yeah, because again, you think like just what you're saying right there. People are like, oh, journal, okay, whatever. Like what's the?
I was that dude, so I get it.
Oh, I know, but I've been there too. But like now, they like one of the most prevalent people that people read all the time is Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. Dude was journaling, man. Like getting
all the time.
out all the time. Like, so like people at that level of leadership and like manliness, whatever you want, how you want to quote it, like journaled still. Like those people, like I think we're almost, it's like we are looking towards very broken people as our guide instead of looking at the ones who are doing it right, even though they might even be perfect, I guess. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy because
No, it's a good point, right?
We
like you were talking about King David earlier, right? Like I think another great example is King Solomon,
yes.
right? Like King Solomon, considered the wisest man to have ever lived, the richest man to ever lived. The man, wrote proverbs. The man wrote songs, and it was all him processing and oftentimes intellectualizing life as it unfolded in front of him, right? So if the richest man and the wisest man was also journaling, like it should tell you something about the power of being able to put hand to paper and just process what's going on in here. Because I can promise you, as men, chances are whatever's going on in here, as great as amazing as the conversation may start, it is inevitable that the conversation is going to end with you feeling either not good enough, not lovable enough, or useless.
Yep.
Right? And that's not really where you want your conversation to end.
Right.
You don't want it to end in here.
Exactly.
Right? And so writing, typing, thumbing is a good way for you to get the conversation out of your head before it gets there, so you can actually start to really process and reconcile.
Yeah, because you look at that, you get it out of your head on paper or typed out or whatever it is. It's just a different thing. It gives you almost like a moment, instead of your thoughts spiraling and keeping going so fast, to like take a moment, like, wait, is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that true? Or why? Like, it gives you almost a second enough to like intervene.
Yeah,
break it down.
100%, man. I mean, in my book, I have a journal kind of prompt sequence. And one of the questions is like, if you're triggered by a certain event and there's a story or a narrative that's triggering those emotions, like you got to check in with yourself. Like, is that 100% true?
Yep.
Like,
example for
chances are a lot of the thoughts that we tell ourselves, which are ultimately negative, they're not 100% true.
Yeah.
They're just not, right? But you don't check in.
If you're like, for me, like if I'm driving and someone cuts me off, I get upset. Or if they're in the left lane, if they're in the left lane going slow, we'll get out of the way.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I get upset. If I could take a moment, why am I upset? They're slowing me down. Okay, so why am I rushing so much? Why, like, okay, is it really that a big a deal? Is it an emergency? Can I take a moment and just, be thankful? Like kind of, I can be better at that kind of thing. And in the same kind of process, I think, of why is that making me so flustered? Is it really them, or is it just something I need to kind of work through and take a beat and figure it out?
Yeah. And you know what? Like, it was one of the first things I learned in my process around the one-up effect, especially as it pertained to my wife, which is like, it was two things. One, I can't control my wife. Right? Like, I can't control my wife. Two, and I can't change her, right? But the second thing is, I can change myself.
Yeah.
And if I change myself, it's going to change my perception of my wife. And because of that, my wife will change. Yeah. Right? And so me changing and having the control over that and not letting it being dictated based on what she does or what my daughter does, right? It keeps me actually more in control than if I tried to like get them to do or be a certain way in order for me to feel a certain way, right? By me making someone else responsible for my feelings, I'm setting myself up for total disaster.
Yeah.
Because as amazing as my wife is, as amazing as my daughter is, and I learned this at like when my daughter was like, I don't know, between 9 and 18 months. I mean, she's still my world, but I mean, imagine even then when she's still in my arms and she's starting to walk and things like that. Like, I mean, you would have thought nothing could have torn me between me and her. But all it took was like her pooping a diaper, too much one day. And all of a sudden she's let me down and then I'm off the rails, right? Because I'm making her responsible for how I should be feeling in my life. And once I made that realization, I took back that control, right? Like, no one can dictate how you feel,
Yep.
right? You can allow people to dictate how you feel. And like I said, it's up to you whether or not you want to assess that as good or bad, right? But when you take that power back,
Yep.
you now become your own like thermometer,
Yeah.
right? Like you're not walking into a place and acclimating to someone else's temperature.
Yep.
You're walking in as the thermometer and you're setting the temperature.
Yep.
Right? Because most people are letting themselves being dictated based on how other people act. But if you're one of the few who don't, now you can walk into any room, including your own home, and you can be the thermometer that heats up things with your wife.
Yeah.
That cools things down if your daughter or your child's having a temper tantrum, right? Like there's so much power in that.
Absolutely. And it was like another story, like, or not story, but like basically a correlation of getting to the point where you're so comfortable with yourself, you know yourself, you have control of your actions, that if you got put in a situation where someone's arguing with you about something and it's just a different opinions, right? Like getting to the point where like it doesn't, like no one's going to change anyone's mind in an argument on what they believe and what they don't believe in that situation. So it's just being like, okay, like being okay with having someone thinking whatever they want about you or your position on something. Okay, whatever you say. And just, because there's no, you got to be able to understand and have that understanding of, I'm not going to change their mind. I'm not going to let it get me all worked up, which is going to cause more issues. Just, okay, whatever you say. Whatever you say.
Yeah.
And just kind of move
on.
There's a time.
That's such a good point, dude. Because like, I feel like when we have more emotional literacy and we're able to recognize and put words to emotions, it not only helps us, but it also helps us understand other people's emotions too, right? Like if you start to pay attention to how you feel and you tie it to words, and let's say like, your wife is feeling great or your wife is not feeling great, right? And you're just seeing her behavior, like you can now take a moment and step back and witness her in her behavior and have a hypothesis around perhaps how she's feeling.
Yeah.
Right. And if you understand how she may be feeling, you don't necessarily need to do anything about it, right? You don't need to fix it.
Right.
But you can just acknowledge her in that, right? Like one of the best things I learned that I do to this day that works so well is if my wife is on one and she is on a stretch, right? And if I'm able to just witness her enough and see potentially how she might be feeling, I'll just call it out and say, hey, babe, like, it sounds like you're having a really hard time. Like, are you feeling upset? Are you feeling frustrated? Like, what's the feeling, And it causes her to stop and check in, right? Because she might be on one, but that just might be like her nervous system being totally dysregulated, right? Where she's just in a fight or flight position. And giving her that pause allows her to like check in, like, how am I feeling? And then she shares that feeling with me. And then I just reflect back and say, you know what, that makes sense. Like, if that was going on with me, I'd probably be frustrated too. And that right there, like, ultimate diffuser, right? Because now she feels seen, she feels heard, she feels understood. Now, listen, like, I'd say 7 times out of 10, I can't understand how she feels. Right? Like I emotionally cannot relate to how she feels.
Yeah.
Right. However, I don't need to in order to see her.
Yeah.
Right. And where she's at.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have the emotional literacy and then the developed intelligence, I would have completely missed that. And all I would have experienced, which I used to do in the past, is just having that just go on, go on and go on. And then all of a sudden, she doesn't really know what to do with it. And now she's coming after me because she needs an outlet, right? She needs a target to aim it towards.
Mm-hmm.
And so if there's any residual resentment she has against me, she's going to aim it at me, right? And then all of a sudden now, because I'm not aware, I'm going to be on the defensive, right? And then all of a sudden it's like her thing now has become our thing. And now we're like disconnected. And then it becomes this like miserable cycle, right? And so this is the power of being able to understand emotionally, like where you're at, how to process it, and then be able to witness your family in different stages and being able to see them there. Like I think that for me is like the highest level, because when I'm able to see my daughter, if I'm able to see my wife in how they're experiencing life, I'm actually seen as more masculine in those moments because they feel safe and they feel protected by me because I can see them and understand them and how they're experiencing it.
Yeah. That makes sense. And then that's the point too, when you are aware of those things, you take less of what they're doing personally because you know they're dealing with something. And so, okay. And I love how you said that you don't have to jump in and fix it because that's not always the time for it. So that's good to be aware of too. Because it's just, man, and it's always no one's got it down perfect, right? We're always improving. No. We're always working on things and trying to figure out how to do it right. And we're not going to get it right every time. But I think understanding like it's okay to have the emotions, have the feelings, I guess.
Yeah.
And then just working through them in a healthy way. Because even that was something that, that I had to figure out too is how to actually have fun. How to actually enjoy the journey. Because I was so focused on the next goal that I forgot to enjoy what I was doing. And it was miserable for a little bit. And so having to kind of figure that out and how can I enjoy this? Because it could be done tomorrow. Like it could be gone. And it's over. And so what's the point if I'm not enjoying right now,
100%, man. That's why the world of play is so important, right? Because when you look back, when you're in your last days, right? If you're even able to be aware of them, you're not thinking about like how much money you made, like what's the highest level position you had in your career. Like you're not thinking about that. You're just thinking about the people you spent the most time with, the places you went to, and the experiences you had, right? Like that is ultimately what you're going to be thinking about. And from the people that I've spent time with who are much older than me and they're in the latter half of their life, they feel like they're playing catch up with all of those things.
Yeah.
Right? Because they didn't give themselves enough when they had the opportunity to. Yeah. So I'm so grateful to receive that wisdom because I'm not trying to do that, right? Like I can still be an incredible business person and still be able to have fun. Like the two, they don't have to be separate. Like they're not opposing forces on a scale that balance each other or counter each other out, right? Like this is all our lives. This is everything we do is an expression of our life. My daughter is an expression of my life. My marriage is an expression of my life. My business is an expression of my life. This podcast is an expression of my life, right? Like nothing is outside of it, And so I want fun to be at the core of everything that I do because if it's not going to be fun for me anymore, like why even bother?
What are some ways you have fun?
Well, number one, video games. Video games is back in my life, and I'm so grateful for it. It's just there's so many studies around just how video games are so good for your brain, particularly Call of Duty. Like, we're first-person shooters. Like there's like actually new studies that are coming out that's showing that Call of Duty is really good for prolonged executive function and quick decision making. Like, if you're a CEO, or you are responsible for having to make some really critical decisions in the moment, or if you're a doctor, you should be playing Call of Duty. You'll be surprised how quickly you'll be able to make critical decisions really fast.
This is good. So I struggle with the video game thing. I used to play in high school, played a lot. College, I played some. I feel guilty sitting down and playing video games for an hour. Like, and it's not even every day. Like, even if I was go do it today, I'd probably feel guilty because there's so much I have to do to get done. So, the story though, with that too, I got invited. So my best friend from high school, we used to play Halo, like LAN parties.
Nice. Yeah.
He set one up for Saturday. So in a couple days, I'm going to go back over there. We're going to do a Halo LAN party. I'm like, man, I haven't played.
That's awesome.
I'm going to be so bad. But I'm like, this is going to be So that I was like, I have to do this. Like I could be busy, but I was like, no, I mean, I haven't done stuff with these guys in a long time. Like it is fun. I was like, I need to have a little bit more fun. I'm going to say yes and do this because it will be fun. And so I'm trying to get a little more back in there. And if not, like, again, I love, it goes back to your point. Like, if you don't have any fun, what's the point? want to be miserable.
Like, what do you like? It's one thing if you are really passionate and excited about your business and there's things that you can look forward to, right? Like, that's one thing. But like outside of that, right? Like, you need to have things to look forward to. Your brain actually needs things to look forward to because it needs to have a payoff for all the grinding that you're doing. Like, there needs to be a payoff. And if there isn't, your brain at some point is just going to be convinced that there is no payoff. And it's going to surrender. And all of a sudden now this is what's called the rat race, right? Like, you're just running on the hamster wheel and that becomes your comfort zone. So part of why having fun is so important is because it gives you a healthy dose of dopamine that allows you to, like, for example, this Saturday, right? Like, your excitement, even though you might get crushed, right? Like, your excitement for playing Halo this Saturday is giving you, like, it just gave you a quick dose of energy, right? Because it showed through, like, your enthusiasm and excitement for Saturday. Like, if we had fun things to look forward to periodically, whether it was daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and that became something that, like, was on our mind, we wouldn't need social media. Right? We wouldn't need social media for the dopamine kick that we now have because that is fully synthetic. Right? But we'd actually have real experiences that we can look forward to that can give us an extra push. Like going to the gym. If I were in your situation, right? Like, I would design my life to push myself, knowing that I had that payoff on Saturday. I'd go to the gym and I'd do extra reps, right? Just so I can, like, feed myself and feel like I earned it, right? Like,
get a bowl of ice cream. I'm like, dude, I work out. Like, this is why I work out, because I want to eat ice cream. So, like, that's my reward.
Right? Like, this is the fun part, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like, video games is it for me. For other people, it could be movies. For other people, it could be juggling. It could be skateboarding. It could be reading. It could be cooking. Whatever it might be, it doesn't matter, right? Like, ultimately what it is like you're creating experiences in your life that can make you look at the other stuff that you're doing and make it all worth it. That's really what it is, right? And if you can then add a little more on top of it, even better, right? Like that extra rep or that extra prospect call or that extra, like, gesture towards your wife or whatever, that extra, nice, healthy meal before the ice cream. You know what I mean? Like, it's such an, it's like it almost feels like a secret upgrade in life that we should all know, but somehow we just forgot that this exists.
It's so true. And because we get so carried away with everything, like I mentioned, like, that's got so much to do, business, family, house projects, relationship with my wife and stuff like that, I'm trying to implement more fun for myself. But we talked at the very beginning, and I wanted to hit on it before we kind of wind things down, but we talked about the work-life balance. I don't believe in such a thing. I think we try to find harmony, but I want to hear your take on that and see what your thoughts are.
Oh, dude, it's a lie. It's a total lie. And I actually, like, conspiracy theory moment. Like, I believed it was constructed actually for high producing people like us to work hard to achieve something that doesn't exist. Right? Like, I really believe that it's designed that way. And like I said before, the reason why I don't believe that it exists is because, like, work isn't outside of your life. It's an expression of it. And so the whole narrative is around your work and your life being these two opposing forces that can't work together. So we have to keep it separate. Right? And by keeping it separate, all of a sudden now in our minds, we think we have to be two different people. We have to be work me, and then we have to be life me, right? And, like, that's a lot of mental bandwidth. Right? To hold while you're navigating life, And so you can call it harmony, you can call it integration, but, like, really what it is you need to allow yourself to have one identity, which is true to you, and then be able to integrate it into all that you do. Like, you inside of work is so much better than work you. Right? Like you in your marriage, so much better than hubby you. Right? Like, and kind of to connect the dots here, the reason why fun is so important is because fun is one of the few things we have left that truly connects us to who we really are, right? So when we have those experiences of fun, now we bring that momentum and those good vibes back into everything else that we have in our lives. Like when I go to the movies, like I'm going to see the new Spider-Man. Uh, I've seen all the Marvel movies, and when I come back, I am like not just on fire for life, but like I'm on fire for my wife,
All right.
right? Like I'm on fire for work. Like
Now we want to go
my
with that.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like my juices are flowing and I want to pour it into everything else out, like everything else in my life,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's the magic and the power of allowing yourself to have fun. But it really starts with like you allowing yourself to be a single identity, not something that's split in two,
Yep.
and really trusting that being authentically you, even if it's polarizing, is worth it to maximize every area that you care about that's in your life.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's something I've, even recently have been getting better at. It's just whittling away all these labels, these thoughts on how I should be, and just kind of really getting to the core of who is Chris Anderson? What am I about? How do I want to be? And it just be it in everything.
Yeah.
And it's been a cool kind of metamorphosis. I don't know what you would call it, but like just a growth. It's been a good, because that's the thing I love about the Upgraded Man. Like when I first started it, I wanted people to understand it's like I'm not the Upgraded Man. This is the Upgraded Man podcast, but it's a journey. Like there's no end. There's no years. There's no hierarchy in the Upgraded Man community in this journey. It is the journey, and we're always growing and changing and improving. That's the beauty of it. It never stops until we're done. And so, so with that, appreciate you being on and sharing this and sharing your story and your expertise on how we can, love ourselves better and remember to have fun, and it all benefits our relationships that way. And as we're winding stuff down, we're going to do the Upgrade Man journal here in a second. But first, where can people connect with you if they want to learn more from you and about you and possibly get your help?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want a copy and latest copy of my book, The One-Up Effect, Gamify Your Life to Win and Have Fun Playing, you can actually go to theoneupeffect.com. And if you want to reach out to me for having deeper conversations about working together, just know me or just say what's up, you can go to thomasedwardsjr.com.
Awesome. Yeah, so everyone, make sure you're doing that. Get connected with Thomas and continue to learn from him so you can continue to one-up and upgrade your life. Because, just awesome. Awesome energy, awesome personality. It's been fun talking with him today and have him on the show. And so make sure you do that for sure. But now for the Upgrade Man Journal. So what this is for those who are new, basically every guest leaves a comment, question, quote in this journal. And then so I take theirs and I present it to the next guest on the show. So we just had Tim McDonald on. Cancer survivor, still going through the journey of living with cancer and dealing with all the repercussions and things. And now he's an advocate for colorectal cancer screenings. And so he was the last guest on the show, and he left a question for you, Thomas, that I'm going to read.
Okay.
And then would love to just hear how it hits you and what it makes you think, and we can chat through that.
Yeah.
So his question for you: what have you survived in life that you didn't call surviving in the moment?
I mean, without a doubt, my addiction.
Yeah.
Like I told you, it almost took my life.
Yeah.
I was legitimately dying, and by the grace of God, I got sober, and that was January 14th, 2019. So it's been some time since, but I remember that day. And it's funny, I was talking to someone yesterday morning, and he was like, you had your own resurrection because you died when you asked for God's help in the middle of a blackout. You died, and then 3 days later you ended up in the recovery rooms on a path that brought you closer to God. Right. And I didn't really think of it that way, right? But when he said it to me, I was like, that is nuts, right? Because when I woke up that morning, January 14th, like I told you, like I was not happy. I was not feeling like I survived.
Right.
Like I felt like my life was done because there was no way I could live in a world where drugs and alcohol were not available to me, but for whatever reason, I also knew in my soul that I no longer had access to it. It was almost like, in a game where like there's a certain level and it's like blocked off. You can't like get access. Like that's what it was like for me. I was walking around the streets of Santa Monica and all the bars had like an X in front of it. Like you can't, you know what I mean? It was very bizarre. But now, 7.5+ years later, like I just thank God every single day to be alive and to be sober. And yeah, now it feels like I was able to survive that stretch where, I mean, listen, everyone counted me out, even my wife. My wife that night thought we were done, and like I said, just this past May, we celebrated 12 years of marriage together, right? So I'm now sober more in our marriage than I was when I was out there drinking.
Awesome.
So miracles can happen.
Awesome. And I appreciate you sharing on being open, with that story to help other people with it. And it's crazy what can happen and what God can do and sometimes it's not easy, right? Sometimes what it takes is not an easy thing that you have to go through. So appreciate you sharing that. Did you have anything, quote, comment, question to leave our next guest?
Yeah, man. I think based on what I just shared, the one thing I knew as I've gotten closer with God is, he's made it very clear that he knew I would make it just so that way I can be a testimony to his good work. Yeah. Right. And to share a message that hopefully can inspire others to believe in themselves, that they can get through whatever hard time they're getting through. But more importantly, and here's the quote that I would leave is, God put you here to play only one game of life, and it's yours. It's no one else's. And all you have to do is play it, and you will win. Yeah. That is a promise that God gave to me, and that I want to make sure other people hear too.
Love that.
So I'll say it again. God puts you here to play the only game of life that matters, which is your game, not anyone else's, not your mom's, not your dad's, not your sister's, not your coworkers, your boss, like no one's, yours. And all you have to do to win this game is to play and never stop playing.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm excited to share that with the next guest and see how that sits with them and what they say. So that's powerful. Don't stop playing. Don't stop playing. I love it. Yeah. Well, Thomas, again, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. And I'm even more amped to go play Halo this weekend now because I covered that. No, man, again, I appreciate it. And thank you so much for sharing and being on.
Thanks for having me, bro. I really appreciate it. And have fun this weekend, man. Well deserved.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are listening to this, share this episode with somebody who, needs to have a little bit more fun. Maybe it's a little tough love. Hey, dude, you're not very fun. You could be better. Or just share someone that you have fun with so we can all improve together. And if you're not following the show, make sure you do that. It just helps us keep going forward and making episodes to help more guys as we do this. And go have some fun this weekend. So until next time, we'll talk to you later. Keep upgrading. And go have some fun.